Hello guys, welcome to all of you in this data mindset. My name is Amit and I'm your host for this session. I think in the previous class we have discussed about how to create variables in Python. In today's class we are going to learn about what are the operators in Python. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's go and start it. So let me write it down. Today's agenda: operators in Python. So let me talk about what is operators. To define the operators in Python, we can say that is any, or you can say operators are those elements that can help you to perform certain operations. Like if you want to perform additions, like say 2 and 3, so you need to apply plus sign. The plus sign is, you can say, is a addition operator. Similarly, if you want to do multiplication of two tables, multiplication of two numbers, let's say 5 into 2. So here the 2 here is 5 into, the into is, you can say, multiplication operator. Similarly, you can say any elements, or you can say any special characters that help us to perform certain task, we call it as a operator. So the question is, what are the operators, like which are the operators available in Python? So I'm just going to list it down some Python operators. So first one is arithmetic operator. Second one is comparison operator. Third one is logical operator. Fourth one is assignment operator. Fifth one is membership operator. Sixth one is bitwise operator, or I can say identity operator. And seventh one is bitwise operator. So these are the typical operators, or you can say these are the important operators inside the Python programming. So let me talk about one by one. First we will talk about arithmetic operator. So let me write it down again. The first one operator, we'll talk about that, arithmetic operator. I'm sorry. So let me give some example. Let's say I have written a equal to 5, b equal to, let's say, 2, and then I'm going to write print a plus b. Similarly, I'm going to write print a minus b. I'm going to write print a into b. Here the multiplication operator is nothing but star sign. Again, I'm going to write print a divided by b. Okay, and now I'm going to write print a double division b, or a modulus b. Okay, and print a Alright, so let me start executing this piece of the code. So let me introduce the line number as well as in the programming. So here in the view, and then I just inside the view, I just click on the show line number, which is nothing but shift plus L. So here you can see that is in your cell, you have a line number with respect to your each line of the programming. So I don't think I need to explain these 4 lines. Of course, you need to understand what will be the output of these 4 lines. But now let me talk about this part. Okay, so let me do it one thing. So first what I will do is I will execute this piece of the code first, and then we will directly jump into line number 8. So of course for these 4 lines I do not need to explain, you guys understand it, addition, subtractions. But let me talk about, like, line number 8. Line number 8 is, you can say it is double division. So what it does, it returns okay quotient. It returns quotient. Okay, so let me execute this piece of the code. So you can say if you divide 5 by 2, so that 2 will be quotient and 1 will be remainder. So this sign, okay, which looks like double division, you can say it will return quotient. Again, let's go to line number 9, and what it does, it is actually a modulus operator, and it returns remainder. Okay, so if I execute this piece of the code, it will return us 1, because if you divide 5 by 2, so we will have a 2 as a quotient and 1 will be remainder. This sign is a power sign, or you can say the power operator. So of course you can write a is 5, b is 2, so 5 to the power 2, it means we will get the output as 25. Okay, so I hope you understand that these are the arithmetic operator in Python. Okay, so let's go to the second operator, which is nothing but comparison operator. Okay, and now let me write it down something over here. Let's say a is 20, b is, let's say, 10, and if I write it down, print a greater than b, again I will write print a greater than equal to b. If I write it down, print a less than b, and if I write it down, a less than equal to b, and then if I'm going to write a not equal to b, so not equal to sign in the Python we can write ampersand and after that equal sign. So this is actually not equal to, I am going to write it down, not equal sign in Python. So if I execute this piece of code, let's say I start executing one by one. Okay, and you can say if I execute this piece of the code, a greater than b, it means a is 20, b is 10, of course 20 is greater than 10, so here the output we are getting true. Now if I execute this piece of the code, so here we have a, like, greater than equal to sign. So the people sometimes get confused which operator is going to perform first, equal to or the greater than. So here of course we have a two operator, which is greater than and equal. So what is a, like, executions, what is a, like, step of the equations? first greater than will be executed or the first equal to will be executed. So basically here is the between these two operator there is a sign of or. There is a sign of, you can say it is actually, it is greater than or equal to. So let's say A is 20 and B is 10. So you can say 20 greater than 10, which is true. But when we will write A equal to B, it means, that means A is 20, B is 10. So that means A is going to assign to B, right? So the equal sign over here is, there is separation between greater than and equal to. So you can say here, you can write print A, okay, right, greater than B, which is true, and equal to B, which is false, because A not equal to B. So if I write true or false, so what we will get it? We will get it true, right? So that's why in this case, if we execute this piece of the code, we will get it true. All right. Similarly for here, if we execute this piece of the code, of course, A less than B, which is incorrect, and we will get the output as false, right? Similarly for this case, A less than B, which is incorrect, so that means false or true, we will get false. So because if we change the order over here, we will get different response. So similarly over here, we will start getting the result as false. Now in Python, if you are going to write, if you are going to compare the two value which is not equal to, so the not equal to sign, we can write it by ampersand and then equal to sign. So here we say A not equal to B, which is correct. So here we will get the output as true, right? So this is a comparison operator, guys. I hope you understand it. Now let's go for third one operator, which is logical operator. Okay. Now if I, let's say A equal to 20, same example I'm just picking up, and if I'm going to write print A and B, and I'm going to write print A or B, again I'm going to write print not A, and then again I'm going to write print not B. So here the logical operator are and, or, and not. So these are the like logical operator. So let me start executing one by one. So if I'm going to execute print A and B, so what we are getting? 10. So the question is, how we are getting 10 over here? What is meaning of AND operator over here and what it does? So let me show you one very interesting point over here is, to understand anything inside the Python, you do not need to go in the Google and or maybe in the ChatGPT and ask that. First what you need to do is, you need to itself ask the Python that can you help me to understand it. So what you can do is, you can write print statement, you can write help over here, and inside the help you can just pass it on and, okay, and what you will get, you will get a very good literature to understand about AND. So look at here what AND does. It says that the expression x and y first evaluates x. If x is false, its value is returned. Otherwise, y is evaluated and the resulting value is returned. So let me just copy this entire descriptions over here. I'm just copying it up and I'm just bring it over here. So let me just make it a comment so that, and now I just put it over here for explanation part. See, I'm going to put it over here. So it says that the expression x and y first evaluates x. If x is false, its value is returned, otherwise y is evaluated. So it means we need to understand that this if x is false, then y will be returned. Okay, if x is false, then x is returned, sorry for that, and if x is true, then y will be returned. So what is meaning of true and false definition over here? So you can say right, the value which is in Python programming, true and false, like we have already learned into the boolean, right, and the boolean data types. So here you can understand that the value which is greater than 0 is true, and the value which is 0 is called false. So let me talk about it. So here in this case, a is 20, which is greater than 0, that means say true. B is 10, which is also greater than 0, which is again true. So here in this both the cases, in this A and B both are true. So here what it will does, since x is not a false, because here x is, you can replace A with x. So here x is true, so that's why it will return us B, which is y. So let me execute this piece of the code and you will get 10, right? So it's a very simple, it's just a need to understand the logic. Since it is going to compare, that is, if x is true or false. So definition of the true false is based upon our, like boolean, based upon our like boolean data types, which is the value is greater than 0 is true, and value which is 0 is called false. Again, for this kind of, let's go for execute this piece of the code. So here it is saying OR operator. So opposite to AND OR operator performs. So it means say that if, let's say, A or B, in this case what it will does, it will show if x is true, then in this case first it is going to evaluate x. If x is true, it will return x, otherwise it will return y, right? So look at here, in this case what it does. In this case it is saying x is true. So since x is true, so it is going to return y, because look at here what the definition says that. So this time I am going to write OR, and let me execute it. It say if x is true, its value is returned, otherwise y is evaluated and resulting values returned. So in this case x is true. So here in this case x or y, sorry, I think yeah, in this case x or y. So first it is going to evaluate x. X is true, it will return x, otherwise y is evaluated and y will be returned. So look at here, in this case what has happened. In this case x is true, right? X is true. So in this case x is supposed to return, okay, which is nothing but A. So A is 20, that's why A is getting returned. B is like otherwise, so that's why you are getting 10 and 20. Now let's go for this part, print not A. So most of the guys, they confuse, like, not A, it doesn't mean the B is available, or not B, it doesn't mean A is available. It is something different. It's not like that. It's the opposite to A. Not A doesn't mean the B is available, not mean it doesn't mean A is available. So it is just opposite to A. So since we need to understand, if A is true, so what is opposite of not A? It means false. In both the cases, A and B are true. So if I execute this piece of the code, in both the scenario we will get as false, right? And this is what the logic is, guys. So I hope you understand till now. So I will continue with next operator in the next video. I hope you enjoy this session. Thank you, guys. Thank you once again.